Hello, hello, hello. This is Carla Michelle, and I am so happy to have you here today on the Strong Women's Network podcast. And I'm going to jump right into it. I have a special guest here with me today. The prolific Kerry Neal's here, and
Prolific. Wow.
we're just going to hop right in. Please introduce yourself. Tell the listeners a little bit more about you and all you do and all the great things with Keep It 100.
Oh, yeah. So, first of all, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Again, my name is Kerry Neal, and I'm the uh, Chief Change Agent for Keeping 100 Los Angeles, which is a nonprofit organization committed to addressing the ills, challenges, and the barriers to keep Black men and women from connecting. And is our hope that through our platform, which allows people to really share their thoughts and feelings around how they view relationships and the opposite sex, we believe that there is a panacea, there's a solution, there's somewhat of a silver bullet in resolving and breaking down that wall that prevents us from experiencing true relationship harmony. And so it's our hope that not only do we get these Black men and women to connect and break down those barriers, but that this will be a catalyst for producing healthy Black families in our community.
Nice. Yeah, much needed though.
Yes.
Very much needed. And I'm sure that you have received a lot of accolades for just even touching on the dynamics of, you know, just being male, female, Black, how we interact, relationships. And we're going to talk about something today. And it's what? Being transparent.
Transparency, right, right.
Versus, what is that?
Vulnerability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And who knew that it was going to be, we kind of take it hand in hand, being transparent and being vulnerable. But in
Yeah.
talking to you, you were seeing the difference. And so let's just jump right in and talk about it. And the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Dr. Carla Michelle. It's an honor and pleasure to talk about this because, I think about relationships. I think about, the relationships I've had over the years, some of the challenges my friends have had. And it's interesting what we tend to discover about the person that we're seeing, that we're interested in over time.
Mm-hmm.
What's sort of introduced up front and what we sort of discover along the way. It is my sense in my view, my opinion, that successful relationships are a byproduct of people who really can share who they are, what's going on, and they have the freedom of sharing the information without fear of rejection.
Love
And
it.
I think we just live in a day and time right now that a lot of folks are fearful of rejection. And even though they want a meaningful, an amazing relationship where they can be all they can be, so many people, and that was me too, as well, particularly in times past, we go in with our guard up. And there's not much that we can do about really getting to know the other person, really the true, authentic person, if the guard is up.
So true. Because we do. I mean, I think I'm guilty. I think you hear me put that. I think I'm guilty.
Right.
But I will say I have to catch myself because that is the first thought of, and then our brain holds trauma.
Right.
And you have to work through that. So yeah, you're right. I believe a lot of us shouldn't, but we do. And what we're hurting the relationship or the start of one.
Sure. Absolutely. And then too, it's a balance because you just can't just be on the first say, hi, my name is Kerry, and guess what I've been through in my life, and just dump it on the person. So it can't be, you got your mouth wide open and there's a fire hydrant on, you're trying to drink all the water, so to speak.
Yeah.
But there really is an approach of just understanding there's somewhat of a nuance of understanding what's appropriate to reveal, that it doesn't, you don't concede too much of who you are, where you can be, damaged, hurt emotionally, because, you guys are still trying to figure each other out. So it's going to make sense that there is some level of holding your cards close to the vest, so to speak. But there is a point when two people are interested in one another, there is a level of authentic communication that's important that really establishes the foundation and propels the potential couple, into what's going to happen down the line. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's just to determine, oh, we're going to be together, but it also could
Mm-hmm.
be information that says, oh, wow, so this is who this person truly is. Yeah, we're not really compatible. Let me not waste their time or my time. Let's, hey, it's a great person, but clearly there are some intersections of conflict that would preclude us from having a meaningful relationship.
I like that. I think that's good to hear because I believe many, male and female, may feel that being vulnerable or transparent, and we still are will point out the difference, or how they may work together or work against each other. But if you think being transparent or vulnerable is going to make that person yours,
Mm-hmm.
that's where we go wrong. Because I think, I was so vulnerable, I was just so transparent, and he or she still didn't want me. And it's like, that you made such a good point. That doesn't mean that the relationship goes forward the way you think just because you're vulnerable or transparent.
Right, right.
I like that.
I'm big on the level of authentic communication. And
Mm-hmm.
and when we say transparent, you can that's another way of being authentic as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys sort of kick the tires. So let's just say two people share a level of authentic communication early on. They say what they want and things of that nature. There's sort of natural chemistry that's sort of going on. So let's say they kind of get past sort of that first hurdle, which may be the first or second date, and then they may have subsequent dates. And then at some point they may even decide to see each other exclusively, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great start. And how
Yeah.
many times have we had great starts with people? Or you talk to some of your girlfriends and so forth. So, but that guy
Oh
you
my
just seen 2 weeks.
God.
But you guys have just seen each other and you thought so hot. Well, yeah, but this happened and that happened, whatever else.
That's
So,
so
so,
true.
so here's what I first of all just kind of want to set maybe a definition for what it means to be transparent, and then what it means to be vulnerable. Transparent essentially is just means that you can see through something. There's windows, you the window in your home, you can see outside, see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability is similar, and I think a lot of times we get the two sort of mixed up. So, for instance, I think we were talking at some time before, and I was saying how look, Black people have no problem being transparent. We will let you know how we feel about something, we don't like it, and things like that, and whatever else. And so we kind of know where we stand, and that's good in many ways, right? Vulnerability is different.
Okay.
Because vulnerability suggests that there is a fortress, there is a wall that exists,
Mm.
but I'm going to move back the gate and let you see what's really going on. So, in one hand,
Oh, you gotta be
transparent.
brave.
So,
I'm
so, so,
sorry.
right, like, right. So, transparency on one hand means if I could just give it a statement, I'll say transparency says I will let you know how I feel.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability will say, here's what's really going on. And
Mm.
I'm telling you
Good.
that most people don't really have a problem letting you know how I really feel about something. It doesn't show weakness and things like that. But vulnerability is, in my opinion, the key to an amazing relationship after it's been established that you two have a lot in common and you want to grow together. That your ability to um, be vulnerable, and I will further define vulnerability as being able to disclose and share typically unflattering information about yourself,
Mm.
even at the risk of being rejected. There is something
Yeah.
about being rejected that we don't want to deal with. And particularly
Yeah.
that's way for with guys. Oh my God. It's like, we're going to try to show. I mean, yeah, women, I think it goes both ways. But, being a guy, I know how we get down. We pretty much want to make sure that we can impress you, have things going on and things like that. And think early on, those things are great. They often say that, when you first start dating someone, you're really just dating a representative for like the first few months, so to speak, until you really start seeing them when they kind of let their guard down and comfort zone
Yeah.
and things of that nature. So,
And I think even when from a girl from seeing a guy, I think that's also the guy is so busy trying to win you.
right,
There is probably transparency in the sense of, yeah, oh, I'm liking you, I'm digging you, whatever they say, but you definitely don't see vulnerability in a guy for. I think it takes a little longer. To me, as a woman, I'm speaking. I think we're quick to kind of let you know us,
right.
the real us, where guys seem to take a minute, a long minute, very long minute. No, try to
Yeah.
exaggerate.
Yeah, I don't, I think that with women, women tend to be. I say tend to be. I'm not saying this is the case across the board. You
Okay,
know,
I won't start no
you're
fights.
right,
Go
exactly
ahead.
right. But you guys are very verbal. You're wired emotionally, and
Yeah.
this is just how you connect with the world. You connect with life and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. For instance, it's not uncommon. Let's say if you're married and you come home and you go like, oh my God, was such a horrible day. I don't know what I'm gonna do at work because I got this project going on. My boss is so demanding. And then maybe your husband will say, oh wow, there's a problem. Let me come in, let me try to fix it. And say, well,
No,
100,
don't,
and you're like saying, no, dummy, I don't want
don't.
you to try to fix it. I'm just sharing with you. And then we go, oh, okay. But then in our mind, being so super logical, we're thinking like, well, if you don't have a problem, then you want advice. So why you tell me about it? Because we just
Very
don't
true.
really engage that way, right? So I think
Oh
some of
my
the things
gosh.
that women anticipate will say men are stoic is not so much we're stoic or devoid of emotion and things like that. We just arrive at it for the most part differently. And it's just real about sort of
Mm-hmm.
learning each other. So
So then when will the vulnerability come to light? Okay, I should maybe that's not the answer or question. And if you can answer, that's fine. But
sure,
I'm also thinking that when it seems like for men, vulnerability has to be more intentional. Like
sure.
they have to seek it. It has to be a decision. Is that any truth?
Well, yes, I think that's probably for both sides, but let's just talk about from the men's side for a second.
Okay.
So here are some thoughts, and for your audience, particularly those are female, probably need to hear this. Um, we men, we get our self-esteem from our sense of achievement.
Mm,
That's how we're wired. Okay,
yes.
so
Uh-huh.
tires flat. Oh, I can't fix it. Damsel in distress. We come fix it. Wow. We feel great. It's you weren't able to do something. We were able to help. That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's this other battle that happens, and this is particularly prominent in the Black community, where many of our families have been, uh, from divorce homes, you know, single parent households and things like that. And there's no one really defining or helping us to determine who we should be as men or what that looks like. So what happens is maybe we got a drunk uncle, or
Mm-hmm.
we have Western culture helps us define what masculinity is. And Western culture defines masculinity as an emotionless person who doesn't really find a lot of pride in being with just one woman, but with being with
Mm-hmm.
multiple women. And there's so much in
Mm-hmm.
society that kind of celebrates that. And
Mm-hmm.
anything that might be perceived as weakness is not good. So let's go back to this. You like say, well, why men have to be more intentional about it? Well, first of all, we got all these cultural barriers. And when I say culture, I don't necessarily mean just within the Black race. I'm saying just within the Western culture itself, being westernized and being American, or what that means
Mm-hmm.
to be a man. So if that's not really being defined by another man who is bringing us up
Mm-hmm.
and things of nature, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to
Okay.
be how we're going to get the information and how we will be informed on what it means to be a man. So for me to tell you that, it hurts me when I think about my grandmother that passed away because it gets me emotional. I'm not going to do that because I don't want you to see me as a punk. And I'm not
Mm,
going to share with you that, you know, when you, um, I don't know, something that you may have wanted to do that actually hurt my feelings. I'm not going to share that with you because I want you to think I'm a little bitch. So all
yes.
these things that continue
God,
to
that's so
drive,
hard on you
yes.
guys.
And there's these layers and layers. And one of the things that we men here in our community so much is what? Man up, man up, man up, man up.
Hmm.
So we see
Yeah.
vulnerability as a sign of weakness, but not as a precursor to a level of significant emotional engagement that can propel a relationship in a very amazing
Mm,
way.
yeah. That's now that is the truth. And so, how are you going to save mankind? And I really mean mankind. How are you going to tell them that
Well,
it's okay to be vulnerable?
Well, you know what's interesting? A Dr. Brene Brown, who was um, a research professor at University of Houston, describes vulnerability as the birthplace for creativity, innovation,
Mm,
and change. And for a
there it
strong
is.
relationship to be born, it pretty much starts with vulnerability. So I think one of the things is, and I think this is on both sides, but let's just steal the man for right now.
Because I'm sticking, yeah.
Right, right. So we need to reimagine vulnerability and we need
Yeah.
to recalibrate our understanding of what it really means to be a man. And
Mm,
this typically is not done by platforms or efforts that women drive. It's going to take men to come together. So here's what typically what happens.
I love that. Hmm.
We typically are not very intentional having these conversations. Here's what'll happen. We're hanging out with the homies. It could even be at the barbershop and
Hmm.
somebody has this conversation, say, yeah, I ain't gonna even lie. I'm just gonna keep 100. When my girl left me, that hurt me, man. That hurt me. It reminded me of when
Mm,
my daddy left me. And then someone says, dang, you too. So someone's brave enough to say that in the moment, but it's a safe
mm,
space because we're
yeah.
men, right? Someone else
Yeah.
says, dude, I ain't gonna even gonna lie, dude. Same thing happened to me, man. My girl left me and so forth and wherever else. And while I
Mm,
was like, yeah, I remember that, but you said you was good. Man, I said, man, I was crushed. And so now we're starting to have this organic experience and engagement.
that's good.
And we start saying, wow, yeah. So it kind of starts there. The
Hmm.
other thing is, and here's what women need to hear too. I mean, everybody essentially needs a safe space to do whatever they want to do. I mean, it's interesting. Let's say if you go to a shelter, animal shelter, you want to go get a dog, and who knows what trauma that dog's been through, and they're so
Mm,
beautiful and cuddly, and you just reach out your hand to try to pat the head, and what they do, they kind of yank, they jump,
yeah.
and they don't know if you're trying to hit them over the head with a hammer,
Yeah.
or you just really trying to caress them in a way that makes them feel warm and that you're trying to have a connection with them. And I would say that dogs are absolutely, in particular situations like, are an absolute reflection of men and women today. We're jumpy, but that's not what we
Mm,
show. We show, oh, hell no, I'm not going to take that from you. Are you crazy? You fool. I've
mm,
seen this before and so forth. And this is nothing but our trauma speaking. And it continues to
mm.
drive a wedge, or it can be upon the initial point of engagement with the person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we like say, okay, so like say for instance, I'm divorced, have kids. Oh, how many kids you got? You got 3 kids? Okay, you got 3 kids. Oh, so how many baby mamas you got? It's
Mm,
already all this stuff
dang.
that's just insulting us. And so
We are
so
vicious, aren't
so
we?
so what I would say is, I mean, men could do some of the same thing, but we're just sort of just talking about certain situations that could happen. So what's
Hmm.
important is for women to know that you have to give men space for imperfection.
Mm, I like
Now here's
that.
what's interesting. Are we all perfect? No, we know intuitively we all are not perfect. When was the last time you talked to some of your girlfriends and asked what kind of guy you're looking for and so forth? And you would swear they're looking for like an android or some kind of avatar that's being created from one of these new technology virtual reality games or something. Because a lot of times women, in terms of when they come up with their
Wait. Guys
expectations,
do the same
guys
thing.
do the
I
same thing
know
too.
you're
We
not gonna.
do.
Okay, because
We
I
do
was
the
about to
same thing.
say,
We do.
back up.
We
Yes,
do.
back up.
And I'm getting there. I'm
Okay,
trying to keep it,
with a big
with a
P.
big P. Right. But all,
Back up.
but all I'm saying is that it's not uncommon for both men and women to have
Yeah,
expectations about who they desire,
yeah,
and these
yeah.
people don't even exist. Now, here's the other
No,
part. Now,
nowhere.
here's another part about that, right?
Yeah.
Let's say if this perfect person just manifested himself, right? So does that mean that game over? That now you can walk up to the sunset.
Mm.
Now you're making an assumption that as long as they got their stuff
Mm.
together, that your stuff don't
Woo,
stink. So it should be
woo.
an amazing relationship, and that's not the case.
You know what? And that is the truth, because I know many times, guy or girl, you think that when that perfect person in your mind shows up, that is the big
Yeah,
question. Are you
right.
ready? Because you're so focused on that person. Like, what are you bringing to the
Yeah,
table? And that's where we miss it. It's, you want perfection, but you still, you still potential.
yeah.
You're not really there. So,
Now, now, now,
gosh, but that's
now, I
real.
don't know the age demographic of your audience, but I'm going to assume
It
it varies.
varies.
So, but I'm going to assume you have a significant audience that's over 30, followers over
Yes.
30.
Some
Some
20s,
20s,
yeah.
okay.
But yes, you're
Yeah.
good. We'll stay there.
So,
Uh-huh.
but let's even go into 20s, early 20s. We've all been through some things that are not flattering. There's some things we've
Yeah.
done. We don't want nobody else to know. And we certainly don't want to share some things because we think it's going to put us in a certain light. It could be
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
None of us kind of really want to kind of talk about some of these things, right? And
Yeah.
then and some of these things can be taken to our grave that the person you're going to be with may not have to know. But then there may be some things that will have to come to the surface at some point because of the exclusive relationship that you're going to have. And that could be anything, right? So if we know this, we've got to change the way we engage people, particularly those that we are seeking to have some love and involvement with. We have to leave margins. It's interesting. They build these new roads now and they're expanding them, but they're now
Mm-hmm.
making sure they're leaving on the what's it called, on the side of the road, where just shoulder,
Shoulder.
right, where just in case you need to pull over because you got a flat tire. So
Yeah.
just in
Yeah.
case you mess up,
Yeah.
they're
We
building,
got
it's
you.
built in. And this is not a
Yeah.
lane you're supposed to drive in, but it's there in case of emergency or because of your imperfect situation that does not allow you to drive on the road. Oh my God,
Yeah.
Caltrans got more on relationships than we do. This is a beautiful thing, right? So you can,
They tried to take those out
and
though,
they're trying to take us
and they
out too, right?
learned a
They're making
hard
like
lesson.
carpool lanes. I know, right? Right,
Yeah, but they learned a terrible lesson, and there was much more
right,
chaos, as you were
right, right,
saying. As you were
right.
saying, you have to have that
You've
space.
got to have an opportunity just in case you mess up. So how is it that
Yeah.
we have all these things? We got like all these kind of safety measures and so forth because we know although something is supposed to operate in a certain way, invariably stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
So if we know this is
Yeah.
the case, why do we assign perfection to people?
Mm.
So that's the
Mm.
first thing.
So
That's the
true.
first thing. So once someone is given space for imperfection, now you can have a conversation, and particularly, and then I'm not sure what part of your audience is Christian or believe in the Bible, but what's interesting, the Bible even talks about is that forgiving one another, considering yourself, or it says pray for one
Yeah.
another, consider yourself, because it's saying that you're looking down on someone and you should pray for them in a sense that in a way that you feel fortunate and you also know that could be me. That could be
Mm.
me.
Yes.
And though their
Yes.
plight may not be like mine, it's nonetheless their story. So let me not
Yeah.
judge them on the path they came from. Let me see who they are now. Because a lot of times, there are a lot of people who've gone through some crazy things and made some bad decisions, but they are
Mm-hmm.
extraordinary people today. And so
Yes,
we could
very
go
true.
down the line from biblical characters to, giants in the community to most noble people, and they would share their unflattering past for how it propelled them into their greatness. Once we're now at a
Yes.
place that we understand that, neither one of us is perfect, but here's what I've done about it, here's where I'm moving forward, and things like that, that opens a space. It creates what, I sort of characterize as an emotionally safe space. And it doesn't mean that you need to start spilling
Yeah.
your guts, but you feel as though that now we can communicate. Typically, when
Yeah.
someone has a problem communicating with someone else, if someone has chosen not to reciprocate communication. So it seems forced. You ever met
Yeah.
somebody you kind of talk to and say, man, they just don't want to open their mouth. It's almost as if they don't want to talk or they're scared to
Yeah.
talk or whatever it is, but it's not fluid. And it
Yeah.
stifles the encounter. And so you have to go,
Yeah.
like, let me
So
just kind of,
true.
yeah. So
Yeah. Amen. Well, I love it because one, breaking it down, vulnerability and transparency is not something, it seems very fluid. It's not something that just happens, one time or overnight. It's something that we all have to work on.
right.
And it's so important in the sense of having a successful relationship and not just a love relationship. It could be friendships and
Absolutely.
work relationships.
Family.
It really depends. Yeah. So one, we're going to have to do a part two. It's so we could talk more about it. But one, I really want to thank you for just, sharing your view, which is, I'm sure, a view I understand transparency and vulnerability in a different light, but we have to also, and I love how you touched on how women have to be patient with, or people have to be patient, not just women, but yes, women too,
Mm-hmm.
of a man being vulnerable. So it's work that needs to be done and work that needs to continue regardless. Even if the relationship gets off on a good foot, it's something that you have to sustain. Is that, would you find some
I
truth in
would
that?
tell.
It needs to be
I would
sustained.
absolutely find
Yeah.
a truth in that. Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. So, we do have an event coming up this weekend. If you're listening to it, I think I'll go ahead and drop this today so it can get out
Sure.
there. But relationship and trauma, and they're able to find you where for
Oh,
that?
they can just go to well, the website is, well, first they just come to the Keeping 100 platform, which is Keeping It 100 LA. That's KEEPING it 100 and then LA stands for Los Angeles .org, or that same information what I just spelled, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook, or you can go
Okay.
directly to Eventbrite and register, and it's
Yay.
trauma KI 100 LA. So it's word trauma, then KI 100, the number 100 LA .eventbrite.com.
Great. And who's going to be there?
Okay, so well, we were very fortunate. It took us a long time to make this happen, but we were able to secure the services of Dr. Carla Michelle. So she's the highlight.
I love it. I love it. I love
So she's
it.
going to be there. We also have Dr. Zanita Kelly from Kitchen Conversations on Instagram. We also have the incomparable, amazing Donald Bell, who is a prolific relationship expert, and he addresses relationship trauma and dysfunction with surgical precision. It should be quite exciting. And then just added to the panel will be none other than Day Lamar from KJLH 102.3 FM, who also is the voice on the Steve Harvey Morning Show that comes on Monday through Friday from 6 to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Wonderful. All right, y'all. So you heard it. Go ahead and visit keep it 100LA.org. Join keeping it
it
keeping it
100 LA.
100. Okay. Yes, and the information will be in the episode notes, but go ahead and reach out, follow on Instagram, and I hope to see you there. Kerry, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate all you're doing for the community and those that you touch. You're
No,
amazing.
no, you're amazing. And thank you for this platform. Power to the Strong Women's Network.
Thank you. And we'll be talking to you soon,
Okay.
okay? Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye.